Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today's episode is called The Canadian Banks Crashed and Closed. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel for free. You can also like, comment, and follow us. We're going to have a lot of great celebrity interviews coming up, so make sure to click on the notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a new episode. Also, we ask that you post a link to today's show on all your social media to help spread the word. Now, let's get started. Something really interesting happened this week, and most people don't have a clue that it happened. Why? Because most of the media around the world refused to cover it. And you know what else? This is not the first time it's happened. This is the second time. What is it? What happened? The Canadian banking system crashed and went offline nationwide. Now, if it only happened once, then that would be one thing. But it hasn't. This is the second time it's happened. And Canadians are worried. When they reach out to me, they're really concerned. You know who else is really worried? I mean, a level of concern that is a little bit disturbing as well. These are high information, high value Americans. People who monitor what's going on. They're not watching sports 12 hours a day. People who pay attention to these things, and this has them spooked as well. These Americans are very concerned. Why? Well, it's because we're seeing more and more U.S. banks go down or crash or go offline for an hour or a day. And this is getting more and more disturbing for people. Sometimes they go down for longer. Sometimes they'll close a bank branch or two or five for a week or two. Sometimes you'll see long lines in front of these American banks because they're claiming to be understaffed or having system problems. By the way, system problems is the new code phrase for we can't really tell you what's going on. But you have to ask yourself, what is going on? People worry that hackers are escalating their attacks on the banks. They also worry that the system is just preparing the public for when they do something very bad or disturbing to the customers. And they're also worried that the banking system itself may now be so frail, so unable to prevent all these attacks that they're just imploding. They're just crashing. Some people are scared that they're preparing to take all their money. What's interesting is how completely oblivious younger bankers are to all of this. They just assume that what the banks tell them is in fact what's being done. Now, the older bankers, the more educated, the better informed bankers, the higher net worth bankers, they know historically what happened during the 29 crash. They know why it happened, how it happened. And they know that the system is far less robust now than it was back then. You know, you may be saying, well, they're insuring the money now. You'll be protected. The truth of the matter is that even with the FDIC's insurance, if everybody runs to the bank to get their money because there's a crash, the FDIC is under no obligation to return all your money immediately. They may allocate it to you over the next 10 or 20 years. Also, they've just passed legislation to allow something called a bail-in. Now, everybody knows what a bailout is. That's when outside entities come in and they bail out an organization. They give them money or resources, and they help them survive. But a bail-in for banks, that's what happens when the bank is in such dire financial trouble that instead of going to the government, they simply go into your accounts and take your money. They may freeze it, they may appropriate it, and they're claiming that what they're going to do is they're going to give you bank stocks in return for your money, and that somewhere down the road you'll be able to use that stock to redeem your money. But here's the thing, it's not real stock. You can't go to the stock exchange and sell it. It's just their own limited stock, their own special purpose stock, which allows them to seize your money and give you a little piece of paper. So what can people do? Well, we don't give financial advice, But here's what we see the really smart money doing all across the globe. First of all, none of them keep all their money in one bank. They keep their money in a number of banking institutions across the country and around the globe. Now, electronic banking is so easy now that a lot of people are keeping their funds in different countries with relative ease. The trick here, the important thing, in fact, the gravely important thing is, where do you put your money? So what some people are doing is that they're looking at stress tests done on banks all across the United States and all across the world to see which banks are the most solvent, which banks are in the best financial position to endure whatever comes. And then based on that, they decide where they're going to allocate their funds. Now, in the U.S., surprisingly enough, TD Bank is one of the highest ranked banks. TD Bank is a Canadian bank, but they have lots of branches in the U.S. So that's something you may want to research further. You also want to make sure that all your funds are at or below the FDIC insurance limits, because any money you have in your accounts that exceeds the FDIC insurance limits will not be covered, will not be redeemable. They will not give it back to you. Now, another thing you can do is you can open up other accounts in your bank, multiple accounts, and then just keep the balance at all these accounts at or below 250 or whatever the limit is in your country. Next, you should also assume that if they take your money and close your bank, that they will also seize the contents of your safety deposit box, any safety deposit box that you may own. Now, we don't see how this can be legal under any circumstances. We really don't. But we think there's a high probability that this may happen. I think the golden rule is that if you don't have control or physical possession of something you own, then you can no longer assume that you own it or control it. Here's something else really interesting. Some banks are making it more and more challenging for you to withdraw your money. So keep that in mind. It appears that they're doing everything in their power to keep your money with them. You know what else is interesting? It's how banks are reducing their days and hours of operation. They're also reducing the number of branches that they have in operation. And then if you really need to talk to a human being, you have to go down to branch number 17, 5 miles down the road, because at the current branch, all they have are automated tellers. That sort of nonsense. Some people feel that what they're doing in Canada is just a dry run for what they're preparing to do in the US. Who knows? Our advice to people is to imagine the worst case scenario that you can possibly think of, and then plan for something even worse than that. Let's hope none of this happens, but you just never know. Thank you for watching. I want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel for free. You can also like, comment, and follow us. We're going to have a lot of great celebrity interviews coming up, so make sure to click on that notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a new episode. Also, we ask that you post a link to today's show on all your social media to get the word out. Thank you, and we shall talk to you soon. Bye-bye.